You guys, welcome to another session. So today we'll be talking about how to use a vulnerabilities assessment solution, to scan against specific vulnerabilities, within our network, especially most recent vulnerabilities that I discovered this year, like 2-3 months ago. Two of which are the PrintNightmare and HiveNightmare vulnerabilities. These are vulnerabilities that can lead to remote code execution, local privilege escalation within your network, and give attackers access to sensitive information within your network. So our major goal is using Rapid7 InsightVM. How to basically it's you can use InsightVM to run a vulnerability assessment and also for pen testing. But what we are looking at here is how to, scan for specific CVEs, within our network, especially those ones that are recently discovered, and how to remediate against them. So the first task will be to log into Rapid7, and we have a list of tasks here to follow. All right, the first will be to collate the CVEs, because we'll be creating a custom scan. Rapid7 has several inbuilt scan that can be used, to carry out like a full audit or a web spider scan, let's say PCI DSS or compliance-based scans. But most of these scans actually, of course, include scanning for recent CVs. But if you want to streamline your scanning to just very specific CVs, how do you do it? So that is what we are trying to achieve today, right? And our sample vulnerabilities will be PrintNightmare and HiveNightmare, right? So the first thing, since we don't know the CVs, we need to visit Microsoft Security Portal to collate those CVs. So I'm just going to do that, right? So I'm going to visit, this is Microsoft Security Update Portal. So once you get there, we can, click on filter. Once we click on filter, guys, then we can filter based on certain keywords. So PrintNightmare is associated with Windows Print Spooler vulnerability, as you can see. Windows Print Spooler elevation of privilege vulnerability. So I did a scan. I did a filter using the keyword print, searching from last year to this moment. And these are all the CVs that, I could collect. Okay. So guys, 12 out of about 1,400 CVs. So we could just try and, so I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to copy these out, put them on the notepad, so that we can pick them one at a time, then import it on our custom scan in Rapid7. So that is for PrintNightmare. What about for HiveNightmare? So for HiveNightmare, I think we just have just a single CV. So we can, like I said, get the CVs from Microsoft Security Update Portal. All right. So I'm just going to copy this out and put it here. So these are some of the CVs that we have, guys. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to log into Rapid7 portal. Okay, so this is my Rapid7 portal, right? And these are the various features on Rapid7, but since we are not doing like a full scan that includes other CVs and other checks, we're just doing a specific scan. I'm just going to create a specific scan, a custom Bscan. To do that, I'll click on the administration tab, right? Then I'll go on to under scan options, you see template. Then you're going to click on create. So once you click on the create option, it will give us to enable us to create a custom Bscan. So guys, as you can see, these are the various checks that can be done: asset discovery, vulnerabilities, web spidering, then policy. So I'm going to leave those checks. Then what I'm going to do is to move down towards vulnerability checks. You can see where we have vulnerability checks. So we have assets discovery. So I'm also going to these are the various ways through which assets are discovered within the network. So I'm going to leave every other details as it is, but I'm just going to come to the vulnerability checks. So because my aim is to create a unique check scan for specific CVs. So you can see under selected checks, I'm just going to individual checks. Then I'll click add checks, guys. So at this point, I'm just going to copy some of the CVs, right? Then I'm going to paste them here, guys, in search. Then, so you're going to take some time to search for them. Then after searching, you're going to add them. So guys, you see, we've been able to search out for these specific CVs. Then you can click to include all. You can see window elevation of privilege is a very severe vulnerability. All right. So I've clicked all. We have about 19 of them. All right. Then I'm going to click on save. Then I'm going to do an add. Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm going to do another add. This time around, I'm going to pick a different CVE. All right. You can see. Then I'm going to search out for records that we have within the database for this particular CVE. As you can see, we already have the result out. Then what we need to do is to include all, right? Then including all, we're going to see, so we have about 37 of them, so we keep adding one at a time based on the results we have. So guys, what I'm just going to do would be to pick the critical ones because of our time. Yeah. So I'm going to check online to pick the most critical ones. All right. So see, then we're going to include every checks added. So yeah. So I've picked the critical one for HiveNightmare. So under PrintNightmare, you have like two critical ones. Like, so I'm just gonna wait for this guy, CV, that ends with 4527. So I'm gonna add it. Click on add checks down. Then I'm gonna add it. All right. Then I'm going to search for this. Then I think there's two. Okay, so I'm going to click include all. And I'm going to save this. So guys, all right. So this is the major one for PrintNightmare. So okay, let's just leave it this way. And so right now, well, so that's the major thing we need to do. Then we're going to give a custom scan name. So let's say PrintNightmare and HiveNightmare checks. Guys, so we could just leave this like that. Then think it's important we also add a description. We could copy from what we have here. Then copy it on the description part. Yeah. So we can also look at some options that to use credentials. Okay, so just a basic test. We're just going to leave every information as it is. Except we want to enable some other option like scanning for all, more ports aside from the well-known port, or also enabling an nmap service scan, just like we can see over here. You can see. So Rapid7 also does not just using ICMP, does TCP scanning and UDP scanning for well-known port. All right. Okay, so at this point, we're just going to leave it as a basic scan template. So then we're going to save this. Yes. So you see, we've been able to create our custom scan. Then the next thing we're going to do is to create a site, because without creating a site, we can't scan our asset. So we're going to create a site. All right, so at this point, I'm just going to name the site PrintNightmare. And HiveNightmare checks. All right, so it's optional to put description, but it's a good best practice, you know. So when auditors come to check your scan, they know what you're scanning for. Yeah. Then it's optional details you can fill. Then you can restrict access to your scan site, right? By restricting user or specifying users that have access to your scan site. So for now, we are not restricting anybody. So we are going to define our asset. So this way you can define the IP range of the network. 192.168.8, right? Cell network. Right, so I'm scanning my home network to check if such recent vulnerabilities were discovered, right? And also, I want to do an authenticated credential scan. So I don't just want to do a non-credential scan. So I'm going to add credentials, you know, that can be used by the Rapid7 scan engine to scan my asset, you know, that are connected to my domain. So I'm just going to do an ed domain. Yeah. Then right, and define the accounts that will be used by the scan engine to scan my asset. So these are services. As you all know, on Windows, we have Microsoft SMB protocol that is normally used for file share, right? So it's open on port 445, 139. So I'm going to define my domain .local. This is my home network. All right. Then I'm going to specify a domain admin. I have access to all connected device on this domain, right? And the password. Right. So to be sure we have the correct settings, we could test So this is the credential. So I'm going to specify the IP address of my AD. I'm going to test this credential. You can see authentication was successful. All right, so I'm going to save these. So that will be used to scan my network. All right. So guys, I'm going to also at this point, going to the template. Don't forget we created a custom template, so that's what we're going to use. So we're going to scroll down to look out for the PrintNightmare, HiveNightmare checks. That's what we're going to use for a scan. Guys, then I'm going to move on to define the scan engine, because this is I'm using the local scan engine that is integrated to the security console of Rapid7. I'm not going to define any of that. And like I said, so we can define our schedule, create a schedule when we want the scan to run, or we could just, you know, it's always good, best practice to create a schedule. So even when the scan is completed and you finish remediating, the scan will keep running to check for other assets that are vulnerable. So we can drop a schedule quickly. So we can define start time, say 11 a.m. morning. You know, define your, what's it called? Your site, your time zone, guys. So we're using the local scan engine, right? So I'm just gonna, yeah. So one time scan, I'm gonna do that every, could do that weekly, right? So duration, I'm going to assign it to scan to run for 3 hours. Yeah. Okay, so guys, okay, so that's it. So guys, this is it. I'm just going to save and start scanning, guys. So wait for the result and let you know. Okay, you can see the scan is running already.